Spa. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday morning. Yay. I know it's not Tuesday afternoon. Crazy. It's because I had stuff to do this afternoon, so we had to do it in the morning. I'm a little out of sorts already, but that's okay because we're going to have a good time. I was having computer issues before, but we're good. We're good. Especially, I have a cat on my lap, so Neo is with us this morning. He is passed right out, so I don't know if anybody will see him, but he is with us this morning. And the guest that will be talking with us today, instead of just sleeping, is Massimo Rigotti. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Randi-lee. Thank you so much for having me this morning. And you know what? Things happen in life, and this is a perfect example of how adjusting in your mental health and putting it in a positive light can really affirm a much better day ahead.
See, I like that. We just got to flip the script a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about who Massimo is.
Well, I am, if I were just to walk up and to describe myself, I'd tell you that I'm a serial entrepreneur that has struggled with bipolar disorder and addiction for the better part of my life, which landed me ultimately in homelessness for about 16 months, which was not a great time. I managed to stand up sober, though, almost 10 years ago now. We're coming up on 10. And completely turned my life around. It's better than it's ever been. And it's all because of faith in myself and the creation of the sober method, my own system that has kept me sober and really kept my bipolar disorder in check.
Okay, we're going to talk about that a little more later. But what about, that was so much information that I didn't realize, and I love it. I love it. That's what we were talking about earlier, right? Just the organic conversation. So, okay.
I threw it all out there because I didn't know where you wanted to dive into, you know? I'm leaving it up to you.
I love that. I love it. But I'm going to flip the script on you. This is going to be my new thing today, flipping the script.
Ooh, all right.
You're going to tell me a story about how this sort of went in life, because you have super piqued my interest now. So I'm going to flip it back to you. Start your story wherever makes the most sense for it to begin. And I'm just going to randomly interject because I'm very interested now.
All right, fantastic. Well, I really had a great childhood. And I was one of those precocious kids that always wanted to get involved in whatever was going on, to learn everything I could possibly learn. And I had a dad that was more than willing to make sure that happened.
That's good.
He would take me everywhere with him, from business meetings to warehouses to manufacturing floors. I saw it all, and I learned so much as a kid on how everything kind of fit together, and began to think, that's interesting. I could do that. And so as I made my way into college, I suddenly found myself struggling a little bit with feelings of mania. I was just really unable to sleep sometimes. I would go 3-4 days without sleep. Something wasn't quite right with me. I thought it was like, it's just because I'm trying to do so much here, and I've just gotten to college. I've just, moved out of the house. I'm away from my parents. This is just normal, right?
Right, that tracks to me. I think most people would agree that's the time of your life that things would be a little hectic.
Yeah, so I didn't immediately think something was wrong, but after a few weeks of this, I decided I would go to the campus doctor, end up with a psychiatrist, and guess what? You're most likely bipolar. And that was a bit of a shock, and I wasn't sure how to take that. So I took it like any 18-year-old kid would do and say, there's nothing wrong with me, leave me alone.
Yes, lies, all lies.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with me. And guess what? There's this fantastic substance called alcohol, and if I take a little bit of this when I'm in a mania, it tampers it down, and I'm just fine. Of course, the challenge to that, being bipolar, is might swing you into a depression. So I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was fine with it, and I continued on that cycle for the next 20 years of my life, where anytime I felt myself out of sorts. I would tamper that with alcohol. And most of the time, I wouldn't fall into a deep depression. That's one positive thing about my bipolar is that it was more up than down, but the downs were extremely hard. And that's what would really challenge me. There would be times when I would go down and it would be 3-4 days of just unable to move. I mean, literally unable, having to
Oh,
crawl to the bathroom type of situation. It was
ooh,
just,
bad.
it's really, really bad. My depressive moods are still that bad, but luckily I've managed to get those down to about 1 to 2 days a year.
Oh, okay. That is
Yeah.
quite the improvement.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I started my first business when I'm in my dorm room in college. I mean, not to be cliche, but it kind of is. And that was
What
in.
were, sorry, what were you going to school for?
I was a chemical engineering pre-med major.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well then, smarty pants.
And it was super interesting. I wanted to do genetic research actually, but this was ahead of Cas CRISPR and all of the modern techniques that are available today.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, it was like, if I do research, it's going to take literally 5 to 7 years to know results of something that I spliced now. And it looked like too long. I wanted more
Yeah.
instantaneous type of, and I became disillusioned with it. And I started piddling around with stuff in telecom because at the time, this is the early 90s,
Okay.
telecommunications was deregulated in the US and it provided a unique opportunity to make a lot of money. And I took advantage of that. And that was my first business was
Hmm.
reselling telecom time to small businesses in massive chunks. So long distance was 40 cents a minute back then. I don't know
Yeah.
if you're are aware of that, but it was
I do
expensive.
remember. I didn't remember the price because I was just a little kid, but I do remember if my mom had to make a long distance call, she was like timing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we can be on the phone for 5 minutes. Like that's
Yes.
it.
It's hard to even fathom that now when we get on these platforms today on the
Right?
internet and we're doing video calls around the globe and it doesn't cost us anything
Right.
theoretically.
Speaking
Right.
of that, where are you visiting us from?
I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, in the center of the country.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as I take it from there, I ended up working in the banking industry for a bit. I ended up starting a company in association management, and then I started dating a model. And before I knew it, I was running her career. And then she said, "Well, why don't you help out with this friend of mine?" And I suddenly had an agency that I didn't know that I had, and I moved to Los Angeles and started working in the entertainment business in the early aughts, and that introduced new substances into my mix of alcohol to try to cope with things,
Yes. Yes.
because there's plenty of that to be done in when you're with the beautiful people.
It's one way of putting it. Oh
Uh,
dear.
So things began to get a little bit off the rails.
Yeah.
I returned to the Midwest, actually to the Kansas City area in 2009, and I started a printing company. And I got married, but things weren't quite well because at this point I was consuming approximately a handle of Jack Daniels a day, so a liter and a half of hard alcohol.
Yeah, not good.
And I had acquired a cocaine habit, and that was not good. So I was really struggling to hold it together. I knew things were starting to fall apart by about 2012. I went to my wife and told her that I think it'd be best if we divorced because I didn't want to bring her down with me. I knew that I couldn't quite stop myself, but I
Yeah.
also didn't want to have her in the mix. That didn't seem right to me.
That's actually really sweet.
Yeah.
Horrible and sweet. I mean, it can be both things.
It can be. I mean, the positive thing is that we didn't have kids, so we didn't have to worry about that challenge, and we
Okay.
remain on good terms to this day, which is I
Oh,
think also a
good.
positive thing that
Yeah.
came of it.
Yeah.
By 2014, it was completely. I was in trouble. My business was crashing into the ground, and by December of 2014, I ended up on the street homeless.
Okay. So I've got a bunch of thoughts. Um, So while this is all going on, obviously, like you said, you were drinking way too much, had that addiction going on. How was the bipolar? Because I know you said that it like
Hmm.
the alcohol tampered it down, but I mean, I feel like you'd be swinging all over the place too.
Yeah, I was, but it was interesting because I would utilize the cocaine as the ultimate uptick when I felt depression coming on, and I would
Okay.
use alcohol to tamper me back down when I felt any mania coming on, and I literally
Oh.
used the two drugs to sustain me somewhere in the center line pretty
Wow.
effectively for a while until the tolerance level on both became too great, and basically I couldn't function as a normal person.
Right, exactly. And I think that's true with, I mean, I've talked to so many people and just family experiences too, that alcohol and drugs are really used to mask other things happening. Like I know for my brother, he had anxiety like to the extreme. He had panic attacks, and so he did drugs and alcohol. I'm sure he had other stuff going on, but we will never know. Um, but it's often used to mask other things. So
Hmm.
I'm going to be mean for a second to you.
Sure,
So
please do.
so instead of just being 18 and going, huh, yep, I have this problem. Maybe I should follow what the doctor says. You decide to go about it on your own. I,
Yes.
for those listening and not watching, I just wagged my finger at him.
I deserve that. I probably deserve more than that. And I think that that is very true though of most of us at that age.
Yeah.
We believe we can conquer the world. We believe that we know more than others.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
yeah.
When I was that age and I was super depressed, I didn't go to the doctor either. Psh, I'm fine. Yeah, I want to kill myself every day, and I've planned to, but I'm fine. I wag my finger at myself too, but
And I think that that's probably the greatest difference between mental health when I was 18 in the early 90s as opposed to today. Because there wasn't, it still was very stigmatized. And if there's
oh
anything that
yeah,
I try to work so hard in my outreach to do is to remove the stigma of mental health, to
yes,
recognize that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to reach out, it's okay to get help, and the judgment that occurs from it is still not great. I mean, it isn't, but it's better than it was by so far. You can't even imagine how bad it was 25, 30 years ago. It was much, much
I
harder
mean,
to,
like I
to
said,
say these things.
I was a little kid in the 90s, but I can remember, and my brother was 4 years older than me, right? And I can
Okay.
remember the no, we don't talk about this outside of the house. Like my
Hmm.
brother was coming home because I would have been like the memories I'm thinking of right now, I would have been around 9, 10 because he's just a, just early teenagers, 13, 14, coming home high as a kite. But we don't talk about this.
Hmm.
Shh, it's fine.
Right.
No, we are not going to the doctor, right? Like, and there was this whole big thing you don't at all. Um, and then even when he died, I think 4 years ago now. Yep,
Oh.
4 years ago now. Um, my mom didn't even want to look at the death certificate in case it said drug like overdose, which is how he died. It didn't. I can't remember what it said, but I remember looking at it and go, "Oh, mom, no, it doesn't. Like it's fine. You could look at it." Um, but it was, even in 2021, my mom was so ingrained with, "No, you don't talk about it," that she didn't even want to look at it or let people know what happened. If it wasn't for me, she probably wouldn't have. And I was like, "Oh, mommy, I'm writing a whole book about this." She's not bored at first, but she got on board. She
Good.
really ended up liking it because at first, again, it's that stigma. At first, it was, well, is this going to be about how bad of a person your brother was, or that I did something right? Like, right? Her whole thing was, could I have done something different as a parent? No, not really.
Yeah.
Nope, not really. Because with the knowledge that you had in the 90s, in the early 2000s, I mean, no.
Mm-mm.
And that is such a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around when they lose a loved one, whether it's from death or divorce or whatever it is. It's like, what did I do something wrong to make this happen?
Well, I'm so sorry for your loss. That had to be really, really tough, and especially to watch it for so many years.
Yeah. I always say, I kind of lost him long before we lost him, but it doesn't really make it easier, really, because you, when the person is alive, there is the hope still that they could turn it around, right? There's always the hope that they can get sober. But when they are gone, they're gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyways, back to your story. You were sharing. I brought us back to when you were 18, but going back to when it was what, 2014?
2014 December,
Yeah.
yes. So I land on the streets homeless, and we're going to introduce another player in this because it's relevant to why I do what I do today. So early in 2014, I went on a trip with a group of friends to Destin, Florida, and there I met a young lady who was on spring break, who was much younger than me, and we instantaneously hit it off. Her name was Samantha Thomas, and she became my lifeline when I was on the street. Just about everybody else deserted me, but once I had no phone, I got a PO box, and she wrote me letters and kept me going through the time on the street, guiding me, asking me questions about what I was thinking and feeling, and how I might improve my situation. And that encouragement is ultimately what got me to turn things around and become sober March 23rd of 2016.
Wow. So that was 2 years then, right? Because we're going 2014,
What?
2016.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was December of 2014, so it was close. I 14, 15 months.
Yeah. Close. So a little. Let's break it in half. A year and a half.
Okay, year and a
All
half.
right.
We'll call it a year and a half.
We'll
I
call
like
it a year and a half. I mean, obviously the addiction was longer than that, but from when you were homeless to when
Yes.
you were kind of like, okay, that's still a very long time.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Well, I think that this speaks to the fight that you have with yourself. That anybody that is addicted that is fighting it, that was an internal struggle to think that I was happier to remain drunk and on the street homeless than to turn my life around. As driven as an individual as I am, I could not pull myself back together. It took a year and a half to do that. So that for me, it when anyone says I'm really struggling to get sober, I'm like, oh man, I get it. I totally get it because
Right.
I had self-inflicted, nearly freeze to death on the streets of Kansas City type of environment that I dealt with. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. I know they always say, there's that saying, they got to hit rock bottom, but everybody's rock bottom is different, and apparently you almost freezing to death wasn't quite it.
No, it really wasn't. And if you can arrest the fall as you're coming down, and those that I work with today to try to help is recognizing what that might look like. If you can stop yourself from actually losing everything, that's of course what you want to try to do. It's difficult though because you kind of are on this self-fulfilling decline that you have to reach a point where you wake up. And
Yeah.
if you can wake up sooner, that's definitely going to be better for your long term, right?
Yes.
But we don't always do that, and oftentimes you end up in cases like mine. And mine is a little different in the fact that no, but my family, everybody was just like they didn't want to have anything to do with me. I mean that was like truly the only person that was supporting me there at that point was Samantha, and that was hard because
Yeah.
nobody was willing to say, "Oh, we're going to take a chance on this guy." Even after everything that I'd done that I felt was great in my past, it wasn't enough. They're just like, you know what? He'll figure it out." That was
Yep.
their attitude. And they were right. I did figure it out, but it was hard. And I'm, in some ways, it might be interesting to say this, but I'm really glad that they left me on my own to figure it out because I became so much stronger
Yeah.
than I ever thought I would be in life.
Yeah. And I mean, it's such a hard thing when you're the family member and going, I love you, but I cannot with you. Like, I just cannot with you. And I mean, that comes from experience, right? I didn't talk to my brother for years, years, because he, At one point, I was in college. So this is going back, I want to say like 15 years at least. And I said, he kept saying, I want to get sober. I want to get sober. Okay, fine. You want to get sober. You can come stay at my house. I lived in a city. It was about 20, 25 minutes from where all his friends were, all his peeps, right? It was December too. Weird. And I said, okay, fine. But you are not to bring drugs or alcohol into my house. Like I had a toddler. You're not to bring drugs or alcohol into the house. You can, watch TV, hang out, whatever, but that's it. And because the thought was, well, if you can't find your drug dealers, I mean, how do you do it? It's fine. You'll be fine. Because I didn't know much about it at the time, right? I've definitely learned a lot more over the years, which is important. But it's really important to state you use the knowledge that you have at the time of the situation. So at the time of the situation, it was, yep, if you can't get to your dealers, no way you can find other ones. They don't exist. So we came. The first about week was fine. And then Christmas, we needed milk. And my mom goes, okay, here's $20. Go, because she only had a $20 bill. Go over to that corner store, get some milk, come back. 45 minutes. 45 minutes to go and get some milk. There's a bar beside it. So he comes back. There is no change. He did bring milk back, but there is no change because he had to stop and have a drink. Oh, it's just a drink. It's fine. It's fine. It's just a drink. Drugs is my problem. It's just a drink. Okay, you know what? I'm not ruining Christmas. I'm not waking up my kid. Whatever. Let's just get through this. Then, of course, we have New Year's. Well, we have to go out for New Year's. I have to go out for New Year's. I have to. Why? We're just all hanging out here and watching some movies and stuff. Like, you can just hang out. No, I have to. It's New Year's. I have to go out. So he goes out, and I said, okay, well, then you're not coming back. Because there has to be a line. At some point, you have to draw a line. And later that night, he had called me, and he had overdosed. They had brought him back. And he goes, oh, I got to leave the hospital because I overdosed, but I got to leave because I don't want to be here. But they said that I can't fall back asleep, so can my friend come over too? No, absolutely not. Can this random person I don't know come over after you just OD'd? No. And that was it. That was the last time. That was kind of the last straw. I was like, I cannot help you. Absolutely not. I cannot have you around my kid. I don't have the mental, emotional capacity for you. Every so often, I talk to him here and there on the phone, or if my aunt had like a family gathering and he happened to be there, but I didn't even invite him to my wedding. I refused. I said, no, because then you're going to get drunk. Then you're going to get sick. Absolutely not. So from a family member who is looking at their loved one going, I just can't. You got to figure this out. I can't. And it's heartbreaking, and it is awful for your family members to have to do that. But we have to put up these barriers and be like, no, you go figure your shit out.
Yeah, it's a protection. It's protection of your heart. It's protection of, it's so difficult. And there was a dichotomy between my own parents, because there were actually 2 or 3 times that my dad, unbeknownst to mom, and mom recently found this out. Well, actually, she found it out when I wrote my first book, because I mentioned the fact that dad would come find me on the street. There was one night where it was supposed to get down to like -11. And he came and found me and put me up in a Motel 6 for the night. And he gave me a big hug, and he's like, okay, well, here's some money for food tomorrow. And I actually used it for food because I thought it was...
I was going to ask.
I did. I actually used it for food because I thought about the fact that he most likely had snuck out to make this happen and didn't tell mom. And I never realized that it really was the case until I put it in my book and mom read it. And oh my goodness. I got my dad into trouble. I didn't mean to.
Oh my goodness. But you know what? In the end, it looks like it worked out. But yeah.
It did, but it also it said a lot because mom held firm that whole entire time. She did the tough love thing, and that was a challenge because I often would think about that. It's like I'm doing so poorly out here that my own mother has disowned me, and that hurt. It really did. But then I would, of course, just take another drink.
Yeah, so her goes away. Bye.
But, you know, so I think that you have to defend your own self from it. And as I work to help people today, that's one of the biggest challenges in being a coach and counseling people is separating yourself from getting emotionally involved in the challenges that they're going through. It's standing at some little bit of an arm's length away so that you don't tie your heart into the results of what is happening. You can provide guidance, you can provide support, you can cheer them on, but at the end of the day, their decisions they're making are completely their own, and just like they were for me. So I often have to reflect on that to ensure that I don't get too deeply involved because I really want the best. I want everybody who's struggling with addiction to get sober because it's a horrible existence, and my life today is so much more fulfilling and beautiful than it ever was before. And I thought life was pretty dang good. I mean, I was a successful business owner and had a lot of fun and have experiences that most people in life never have. I'm so blessed to have all those experiences. But I guess I never was really happy. And I didn't understand that I wasn't happy until I was sober, if that makes any sense at all.
I feel like it does because that's something that kind of my brother would always talk about. When he was, because he tried over the years, as most people do, and that was always something that you could notice when he was sober and he just maybe was depressed, maybe something like, I don't know. Like I said, we'll never really know, but when he'd be sober, he wasn't happy still. There was something underlying that needed dealt with. And so when you go and drink, and then you're fine again.
Absolutely. But once you figure out those things and you wrestle with your demons and you come out on top of it, you look at life in a completely new way. Mm-hmm. And we all wrestle with those sorts of things. And I think that we all could even if we say, oh, I'm in great mental health, if somebody were to say that, I bet they're still wrestling with some demon that if they tackled head on, they would feel even better about themselves, even if they're completely sober.
Yeah, for sure. We deal with lots of stuff. Like I said, with depression, I mean, because of what went on with my brother, I have never touched a single drug. I have drank, but I've never touched a single drug because I'm scared to, because I saw what it did to him. So, but dealing with depression, I mean, until I went to therapy and like you said, dealt with it head on, there was always that little piece that would drag down. No matter how good I felt, no matter how good my antidepressants work, there's always that little piece, right? And then you go and you deal with it with a therapist, and I'm like, oh damn, okay, all right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that fundamental strength that you gain out of it, because here's the wild thing that most people can't believe. I currently take no medication for my bipolar. I've been off of it now for 2 years. I've been off for 2 years now. I've gone 2 years and I've had only 2 depressive episodes and 1 mania in that period of time. And they were I managed to snap them back into place. I've learned to really manage most of it. I can feel these things coming on now and get ahead of them in my thinking and start saying, okay, this is about to occur. So I refocus my thoughts and my energy to bring the manias down, even though I'm going to be honest with you, I love a good mania because I get a lot of stuff done. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Right? It depends on how far of that swing you are, because I know some people feel a little too mania when they have it and jump in front of cars. So, it just depends how much that swing happens.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back. So it was 2016, and you were getting everything together. You kind of climbed out of this.
Yeah.
Per se. So what did you do from there?
I went and I took the most menial job that I've ever taken. And it was kind of difficult to find a job because when you've owned businesses and you've had success in life, your resume kind of hurts you a lot.
Well, yeah, because nobody wants to pay what your piece of paper says you're worth.
Well, even though I want the least amount of responsibility. I will work the window at your drive through,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, you won't, because you won't be here that long, because your resume says that you'll want to be the GM.
Yeah.
I found a job at Kubota Tractor in a warehouse in the Kansas City area on a second shift, and I went in there. I was hired by a manager that understood where I was coming from, I think.
Oh, okay.
And he told me, what you do once you're inside of here, the sky's the limit. I'll get behind you. And boy, he did, because within 3 years, I was running that facility.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah. So I just went in there and I let my work speak for itself. And I ended up being a general manager of a 1.1 million square foot warehouse facility.
So, I mean, your resume does prove that you wanted to do it.
Yes, yes, yes. So everybody who said that, yes, it probably is true, but it's hard to sometimes get that traction when you're just out of a situation like that. And I'm so glad that I found somebody that was willing to take a chance on me, and I proved him right and had great success. And then I walked away from that and started doing business consulting, helping small, medium-sized firms restructure as they went through generational handoffs or sold their companies after a parent passed away or something like that.
Yeah.
It's really fulfilling work. I love doing it. And that's primarily what I did for quite a while. And then on August 1st of 2020, in a black, ironic twist of fate, Samantha was murdered by a drunk driver in an accident.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's
about
heartbreaking.
About 5 years ago, coming up here next week. So yeah, that really hurt, and everybody was like all hands on deck. They thought I was going to collapse right back into drinking. I didn't.
Which is fantastic. And you know what? Had you done that, you would have been poo-pooing on her memory.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so you were not allowed. She definitely was looking down, going, I might have had this tragic thing happen, but don't you dare.
Yeah, no, and I had already at this point created what I was calling the flavors of confidence method to help with my own sobriety, keeping sober, because I had gone to the group meetings and it just wasn't enough. It was just talking about the past, reaffirming that I was an alcoholic or a drug addict, things that I wasn't, and I didn't feel that that was healthy. It's a self-affirmation of something that I'm not. I'm not down for that. So I struck out on my own to create my own system, and that was the Flavors of Confidence method. Originally, it was 10 steps. And Samantha, before she passed away, was, you really need to write a book. You need to get this out there. It's like really, I can see how it has dramatically improved how you're looking at your sobriety in the future, as opposed to constantly looking at the past like you were in group before. And so I set out to write the book. Literally the day after she was murdered, I started outlining it, and it was released in 23. So
Okay.
yeah, that got the news out there, and I started coaching people more with it. And then I found that it was just kind of clunky because I was having trouble remembering what all my steps were, and then you have that kind of confused with 12-step programs, and everybody's like, well, wait a second, your step 8 is like kind of like step 5 over here. I'm like, okay, we gotta just completely change this. And I came up with calling it the sober method, and I was stunned in 2023 that it was actually available. I figured there's got to be something out here called the sober method. I mean, it is 2023, right? But it was available. I was like, that's Samantha looking down on me for sure.
Yeah.
And restructured the 10 steps, kind of reworked the 10 into 5. And then SOBER stands for Stoic, Observe, Behavior, Execute, and Restore. And it all comes from my belief that I could treat myself, and this comes from my work in the manufacturing at Kubota, that I could treat myself like a manufacturing process and slowly rework and rebuild processes within my head, how I think about things, how I react to things, etc., and like slowly rewire myself up into a stronger, more sober individual.
That's kind of like when I went to therapy and we were dealing with PTSD. It was rewiring the thought processes and dealing with situations in different ways. So yeah. So okay. Did you come up with the title sober method first and then you had to find words to match it? Or did you have the words and you're like, oh, I hope this is available because the words are there?
Oh, no, it was sober method. And I knew the S was going to be stoic because stoic was the first step of the flavors of confidence method. So I was like, oh, this is perfect because S is going to be stoic. It's the beginning. Awesome. And then I was like, oh, great. What am I going to do with these other letters?
Okay, I was hoping it was going to be that way just because it's far more entertaining that way.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I was like kind of sitting around going, okay, great. It's available. S is definitely stoic, but how does the rest of this all fit in, and do I make it make sense with all of the other steps I have?
I love that. That's something. That's something I would do. I'd be like, I have this word. I really love it. Crap. Now I want to make it an acronym. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because I figured if I could make it an acronym, then it would be really easy to walk people through. I was like, oh, you're on step B, you know? I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I love that it's an acronym, but it's like, it's because it's so hard sometimes to find a good word, but you have the good word, like it's the perfect word, but then you got to find the other words that are going to match that make sense with it. So that's very entertaining.
Yes. It was a bit comical for a minute, but actually I framed that up in about 24 hours. It was just throwing a bunch of words up and like on the wall, and I was like moving them around. I had them on taped on magnets, and I was moving them across the board. And
Yep. Yeah. That's fantastic. I love it. I really do. So you said 2023.
Yep.
All right, and now we're in 2025. So how's the last 2 years been going?
It's been going great. So I started a lot of my work in focusing on those that I thought were most similar to me, and that's really where I've remained my focus, but it was all by word of mouth. So I would get a referral from somebody, and I would work with doctors, lawyers, engineers, those that are really at their top of their game that don't have an outlet to talk to somebody else. And that was such a challenge for me, because even when I thought maybe I should do something about it before I crashed and burned, I didn't really know who I could talk to. Who I'm going to talk to another business owner and be like, hey, I'm really struggling. I've got this like cocaine habit. And I mean, like that would be the last business deal I did with that guy.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it's the same. I knew doctors when I was drinking and doing drugs that were taking painkillers and drinking a bunch. So I knew that these types of people existed out there, and they were hiding it as well. So that was my focus. And it's just within the last couple of months that I decided, mainly from several people I've helped get sober, saying, you need to get this out to the broader market. You need to push this harder. And that's why I've just now recently started pushing my public push to be like, hey, guess what? There's this other method out here, and I'm here to help.
Yeah. And I love that there's other methods and that they're being promoted now, because, I mean, I've been doing the show for 4 years. Addiction is one of the top. So I would say depression and then addiction are the top, like, two for interview conversations. And a lot of people say, yep, the 12 steps helped them. But then there is a large chunk as well that said, no, that wasn't for me. It didn't work for me. And having these other methods and other things available, I think is so important, because there is no one thing that's going to help everybody across the board. It's just impossible.
Right, exactly. And I think that I don't really care if you use my method. I mean, I do, because I want everyone to use my method, but I'm saying from a fundamental belief standpoint, I want people to get sober. And if that's the sober method, fantastic. I think it's great, and I understand it, and I can help people there. But maybe that's not for them. Maybe it's one of the many other methods that you mentioned. And there are plenty of them out there, but I think that the first one that everyone leans into are the 12-step programs that have been out there for almost 100 years now.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that they don't provide good fundamentals. I think they do. I and they might work well for some people. I have friends that absolutely swear by them, that refuse to read my book and forever. And I had one recently, and he called me up. Well, actually, he sent me a text before he called me, but he sent me a text saying, I finally read your book, and why did you make me wait so long to read it? I'm thinking,
Yes.
I sent it to you when it came out. This is a year later. I mean, like, it's been sitting on your coffee table. Anyway.
Yes,
but
I was like, here's the book, but do not read it.
you must not read this.
Yeah.
He said, this is the greatest thing ever. I am like completely never going to another group meeting. This is the thing for me. I want to bring some of the people in group to use this. I'm like, well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you like it. And but again, it speaks to the fact that we hold on to what we're comfortable with and what is known. And that really starts in healthcare. And healthcare steers you towards the 12-step programs because it's known, it's been shown through and through to work. But the results are kind of hit or miss. It really is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are turned off today, especially by the religious undertones of it. And that's why I think the stoicism in my method and stepping back, that even though I am personally a Christian, and it's not something that is put forth in the method, because I feel like doing that can make people uncomfortable enough to not want to get sober. And I don't want to see that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, the goal is to get sober.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're almost out of time, but I have another question. And I'll probably have 10 more, but I'm going to try and narrow them down.
You can always have me back on sometime.
I feel like this is a thing that will happen. So you said that you did go on bipolar medication for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when was that?
That was shortly after I became sober. So almost 10 years ago. That would have been about 2017, 2018.
Okay.
Shortly after I started working at Kubota. And that was, I'll tell you what, the challenge for me on being on those medications, and I think that I'm not alone in this. Actually, I know I'm not, because I hear it a lot, is it honestly, it kind of felt like somebody had a thumb on my head, and I couldn't get past any, like, non-procedural thought. Like, I could think about any type of process, but I'm a very creative person and very passionate about things. And so I would be like trying to think about new things. And I'm like, why can't I think about new things? What is going on? And it became frustrating to me. And then the doctor's like, well, let's lower your dose a little bit. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way. So then that's when it kind of took me into a deep dive in something that ended up in my Sober Method book, was talking about how important diet is in this, because I reworked my entire diet and pulled out all processed foods. I think this is a big component of the reason that I've found more success and traction. It was amazing what that did to my mood. It really improved it greatly. My depression really was pulled away as I got rid of processed foods.
And it's so interesting how that works, because when I can actually feel when I'm like, I need vegetables. So we're renovating the kitchen right now. And so prepping food and stuff is very difficult. So I will fully admit, I have not eaten my vegetables very much. Like a little bit, but mostly like baked potatoes on the barbecue, corn on the cob on the barbecue. But like I used to do like beets and carrots and broccoli, all the good stuff. But there's just nowhere to do it right now.
Yeah.
And I can literally feel when I'm like, oh, so that last week the girls at work were like, oh, we're going to order a salad. I'm like, yes. I don't care what I brought for lunch. I need a salad right now. Because like you really can feel the difference. And my kitchen is almost ready.
Good.
Almost ready. Because it makes the biggest difference when you can actually do that. And I can see it in my kid too, where, because it's like, oh, hamburgers, hot dogs, like all the easy stuff you can do on a barbecue, which is fantastic that we have that ability to do. We're not eating out constantly, but it's like, you need your vegetables too. And it's not to say we aren't trying, but she doesn't like raw vegetables. She likes them cooked, but it's hard to do it on the barbecue. And she's autistic, so like it needs to have a certain taste to it and has to have a certain texture to it. And it's just they have to be made the right way, which is in the oven for 20 minutes at 450. Like it has to be. So it's a challenge. And so when you're talking about food, I'm like, oh yes, 100%. That is so true. Food plays such a big role in how we feel, whether you have bipolar depression or nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's an understated component of everyone's mental health that we overlook. We don't even talk about it. And I think it's something that probably should be at least in the conversation. If you're drinking 7 or 8 sodas a day, you're probably not doing the greatest thing for your gut either.
Right? I know. On the weekend, my kid's like, I need juice. I'm like, you do not need, you need to go drink some water. I need juice. And like, again, with everything happening and being autistic, she's a little overwhelmed all the time. So we're giving her a little bit of leeway. Okay, you could have some juice. But like, no, you don't need it. It's just that you're overwhelmed, and so you're thinking that you need sugar, like but you really don't, because it's actually going to make you feel worse in the end.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's just funny that you bring that up now, because I'm like, yeah, I totally feel it.
It's just also a reminder that all of these things in mental health and the way that we feel, it's so interrelated, and you need to take that full holistic approach to what is going on, mind, body, and soul. Every one of these things is interconnected, and once you hit that right balance, I used to roll my eyes. I used to roll my eyes at anyone who would talk about finding their zen. Well, guess what? Now I understand exactly what they were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But it's true. I used to do the same thing and be like, yeah, okay, yoga helps you so much. Yes, it does. Wow. But until you can experience it, and it's not done at you, I find like you don't experience something like that after just one time, right? Like you have to kind of try it a few times before it really clicks in. Same with diet. Until you're really doing it and you can really tell, it's like, oh, okay, these people aren't crazy. All right. Maybe there's something to this.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, so what would you, because we are running out of time, what would you tell somebody who is a family member of somebody that is going through like severe addiction right now? What are you going to tell the family member?
To be there as a support and guide at arm's length. That don't find yourself completely enthralled in what they're doing. Don't get emotionally invested in what's going on. And don't try to do things for them. Don't like, we're taking you to rehab. That's never going to work. The time and place for someone to get sober is on their own timeline. And you need to just stand back and provide guidance when they ask for it. As hard as that might be, it really is the best path. It just is to be there, but at arm's length.
Excellent, I like that. So where are people going to pick up your book or get? Because I know you have it written in a book, but pick up your book and then of course follow you and all the things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So sobermethod.com is my website. You can go out there. You can find me. Flavors of Confidence and Sober Method, both available on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. I'm on all the socials. My handle is @SoberMethod, so you can find me there. Connect. I don't have 100,000 followers yet, so I can assure you that if you write me a message, I am the one responding still. So, reach out. I do actually help quite a few people that way, and I also spend a fair amount of time on Reddit. I've got a Sober Method Reddit community, and it's growing, and that's a good way to interact with me anonymously. If you don't want me to know who you are, then I'm happy to interact with you there.
That's awesome. You know what? I think you're the first guest to ever be like, I have a Reddit. So my husband loves Reddit. He gets in Reddit holes and he just,
oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, bye. I go on it little tiny bit when I can't find the answer somewhere else, because Reddit sometimes has that answer, but he dives deep.
There's a lot out there. There really is on Reddit. Yeah, it's a great community.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Randi-lee.
All right. And remember, everybody, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.